Hello, BookTube. All right, we're in part 3 of our 4K, but not that 4K Q&A. And we are at, let's see here, PHXSNS1. Thank you for reliably filling my subscription feed with great videos these past few years. The pleasure's been all mine. Questions. Is Vance Packard worth reading? My local bookstore has a big stack of his work, and I tend to like that kind of journalism. Yeah, if you tend to like that kind of stuff, you won't find many people who are more readable than him. If your local bookstore has a stack of his books, get them all, because you're gonna eat them like candy. Also, what do you think of Gail Sheehy's Passages? I didn't particularly like it. Barbara Ehrenreich's Nickel and Dime. I like it very much. And Ken Kesey's novels, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion. Ken Kesey and I do not get along. Not in any way. Sarah Wilburn says, I've fallen in love with Shirley Jackson's books in the past year. Do you have any recommendations for similar authors or books? I recommend an author named Margaret Millar. And thanks to a subsidiary of the University of Chicago Press, a large number of her, I think all of her work, is in print in very attractive matching paperbacks. You can get the whole set, and the spines form a picture. Margaret Millar, M-I-L-L-A-R. She is largely forgotten by the reading public. She is fantastic, just fantastic. If you don't want to sink for the whole set, and you're wondering where to start, because she wrote a lot, try the novel she wrote, A Beast in View. Try that. I bet you'll see she has a lot in common with Shirley Jackson. I think you will find a new favorite author. I can't recommend her strongly enough. Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats says, no wonder I can't keep up. Thank you for all the wonderful videos. Anastasia B says, number 1. Congratulations on 4,000 videos. You are not only the most prolific YouTuber, but also a 20-something super hottie. How do you manage that? Clean living. Number 1, Dan Simmons' Summer of Night is in some ways similar to Stephen King's It. Is there a story behind this similarity? If there's a behind-the-scenes story, I don't know it. Number 2, what is your opinion of Daphne du Maurier or Dorothy Whipple's books? Oh my, well, Daphne du Maurier needs no introduction on BookTube. Everybody loves her. Dorothy Whipple, I think, is totally forgotten. That's a shame. Her books are delightful. It's nice to hear them mentioned in the same. I like them both. It's nice to hear them mentioned in the same question. DDB says, congratulations on 4,000 videos. I don't have any intelligent questions, only a dumb one, and it refers to Bill Bryson. I think you like him as an author, but have implied that his books contain mistakes or inaccuracies. I had never thought to question that aspect of his books, I must admit. Would be great if you could enlighten or explain further. He's a popularizer. So the more technical a subject, and there's nothing wrong with popularizers. I love a whole bunch of them. James Burke, Jonathan Miller, Carl Sagan. I love a whole bunch. There's nothing wrong with a popularizer. It's just when a popularizer starts to write that very engaging, hip, colloquial, hey pal prose about a subject that has a long history or lots of techniques, you have to dig in. Don't believe it. You can read it for the fun of it, but don't believe it. I think of Bill Bryson's Short History of Everything, and I just wince, thinking, if this is the only book of history, or even purported history that people are reading, that's really bad. That's wince-worthy. So you have to just, if someone is an all-purpose jack-of-all-trades popularizer, you have to check their bona fides on a regular basis. You should check the bona fides anyway, of anybody. Ducky Little Dictum says, do you have time to keep up with current movies? Which of them have you most enjoyed? Well, I do have the time. I also have the opportunity. I have a friend who works in Hollywood who routinely sends me e-screeners, files, protected files of movies, forthcoming movies, new movies, whatever. I have the time and the opportunity. I just don't do it. I tell myself, in the morning, I tell myself, all right, you've got 4 things to write today. You've got all this reading to do today. Got to take care of the bean all day. And then you'll do more reading. And then at midnight, you turn into a pumpkin and you just read. But there's the evening. In the evening, you should set aside an hour or 2 for videos, for stuff that for movies and TV shows, binging, stuff like that. If you're unaware of that kind of cultural coinage, it's only to your own detriment that you're not aware of it. And I never do it. I set aside the time and then I just read. But I have seen some things recently. I saw Silk Road, a movie about based on a real story about a guy who made a fortune on the so-called dark web and crossed the line, eventually started suborning murder, just thinking that he was invulnerable. And Silk Road, the movie, was terrific. There were large parts of it that were terrific. It stars Nick Robinson, young tobacco addict, just shovel-faced tobacco addict, probably 10 packs a day, who was in Love, Simon, very feel-good, very cuddly. He was cuddly in that movie, adaptation of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, the YA book. Love, Simon was very, very effective. I know a lot of people love that movie, and they should, because it was really, really effective. And boy, oh boy, in Silk Road, of course he's not cuddly anymore in Silk Road, but he is amazing, just amazing. I have my issues, of course, with 10-pack-a-day tobacco addicts. These people who are just, I mean, I have my issues with people who are just so obviously drug addicts. I don't think this kid can go 10 minutes without smoking. And that bugs me. That bugs me. That's not, it bugs me for all sorts of reasons. But there's no denying the acting talent. I didn't know anything about him before Love, Simon. And I didn't see, anybody could do that role in Love, Simon. They just have to be physically adorable. But Silk Road showed me an actor. So I was impressed by that. Another one, the same thing would be Cherry, the new movie that adapts Nico Walker's debut novel. It stars Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and he also is him and Nick Robinson are what I refer to as Guild Navigator level tobacco addiction, where they don't have one after meals or have one after a run or whatever, but they just live on it. They Ezra Miller style. They live on processed tobacco. Anything else is secondary. Sometimes they eat. Sometimes they remember to have water. Sometimes they need to breathe oxygen, but mostly they live on that chemical compound, and they need mountains of it every day. A Guild Navigator, where it's changed their physiology to the point where they essentially aren't human. They only have that one chemical need anymore. And Tom Holland is the same way, and is also an a-hole, which I don't think Nick Robinson is. I've never got that impression. Tom Holland is, in addition to being a Guild Navigator level tobacco addict, he's also an a-hole. So I don't like to praise him, but he is terrific in Cherry. Just amazing. Just amazingly good. So I can definitely recommend both those. They're both very dark stories, but I can recommend both of them. And speaking of dark, we could go with a movie that was filmed at night in the dark with almost no light bulbs on, and that is the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, which I, of course, watched. I've watched it twice now. That's 8 hours of viewing. It's incredibly long and portentous. I watched that. And I guess there is a director's vision in that movie. It's hard to see because it is literally hard to see anything in that movie. The whole thing is filmed in the dark. So it's like those long stretches in the Blair Witch Project where it's just shaky cam live footage of something happening largely in the dark. So that sounded like Superman. Did he punch someone? I can't really. But I should watch a lot more, including Netflix and Amazon Prime. Good Lord. I mean, they're dirt cheap for what you get. So I subscribe to both of them, but I don't make use of that subscription. I really should. Anyway, Ray Tostado says, number one, did you enjoy HBO's 2008 John Adams miniseries? No, I wanted to, but every decision that was made, I didn't understand any of the decisions that were made. The little ticks on the showrunner's part that I just didn't understand at all. Why you would make the decision to make only John Adams and his enemies interesting, and all the characters who are neither John Adams nor one of his enemies are just going to be these extremely stuffed shirt, boring, one-dimensional characters. Why would you make that decision? And also the decision to have John Adams chain smoke throughout the whole of the miniseries, to the point where there are moments, long scenes, when you are clearly supposed to be paying attention to what's going on in the scene. And instead, all you're thinking of is, well, okay, so John Adams never stopped smoking. Is that what this miniseries is telling me? But probably worst of all, probably the thing that bothers me the most is that weird camera business. Why is the camera doing this all throughout that miniseries? Why is it doing it? Why is that? Are we on board a ship? Are we with Aubrey and Matron? No, we're listening to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson talk about the National Bank of America. So why are we doing this? Why is that happening? I didn't get that at all, and it's so distracting. No, I didn't like it at all. No, not at all. There's virtually nothing in it that I could praise. Number two, what is your favorite Lincoln biography? I would recommend an author before any one biography. Harold Holzer has written a handful of books on Lincoln. He is the best writer on Lincoln that I've ever read. And I think I've read them all. I hate, no offense to Carl Sandburg, but find Harold Holzer, any of his books on Lincoln. The one that was the most popular was Lincoln versus the Press, but there are all sorts of others. Don't miss him. He's fantastic on Lincoln. Number 3, do you e-read with a Kindle, iPad, Nook, or all of the above? What's your favorite? Oh my, I'm tempted to give the most annoying non-answer answer and say all of them. I have a Kindle, I have a couple of Kindles, I have a couple of Nooks, and I have a couple of iPads. And I have tried all of them as dedicated reading devices. And I see the appeal of quite a few of them. But for me, it has ended up coming down to the iPad because I want the connectivity. Now, a lot of you won't be in that position. A lot of you will say, oh no, if I have access to Instagram, then I'll be, 2 hours will pass and I'll have done no reading. I'll be on Instagram the whole time. To those people, I would say, maybe investigate a concept called self-control. But one way or another, I have self-control. I control what I do and where I spend my time. So, and it's not that kind of connectivity that I'm worried about. It's being connected to Wikipedia or YouTube for an instructional video or something like that. I want to have that ecosystem behind me when I'm reading. Although I most of the time don't use it. When I settle down for the iPad on the couch in the other room with the bean, when I settle down for a nice chunk of reading, I call up whatever book I'm reading or I'm going to start, and usually just read it without referencing that ecosystem. But I want to have access to it. In addition to that, there's also emails from editors, publicists, that sometimes are time sensitive. Now, I can't use a dedicated e-ink e-reader. Number one, I don't seem to experience the eye strain that a lot of you talk about reading on a blue backlit iPad. I don't seem to experience that. So I can do it at any length of time that I want. I read all night on my iPad. And without any eye strain that I can detect. So that is great. That's number one. And number two, I don't get distracted by all these other things. I need some connectivity. I need some access to the rest of the information superhighway, although I don't tend to use it. And in my iPad, I have iBooks, which comes with the iPad. I have the Kindle app, and I have my Nook app. So, and I have some books in one, some books in the other, some books in the third. So I read all over those, and that's great. Those apps, those reading apps are fantastic. It's a brilliant idea that they are disconnected from the machinery so that you can put a Nook app on any device and have your library. That's terrific. Mr. Putler Gollum says, what biographies, autobiographies can you recommend about average people, soldiers, humanitarians, doctors, firefighters, housewives, etc., that did unbelievable things, saving, helping other people, animals, nature? Okay, well, off the top of my head, none. But I've read quite a few and liked a lot of them. I could make a list, but it's not going to work for a Q&A. I tend to like a lot of those books, so there's quite a few that I've read and liked. Nat Hat says, just wondering if you enjoyed the Snyder Cut and what your favorite DC live-action movie of all time is. I don't know that enjoy is the word for the Snyder Cut. I recognize that it is the full manifestation of Zack Snyder's vision, and to that extent, it's a wonderful thing because it's definitely a movie made by one person instead of by a committee, like you get the feeling of for a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe superhero movies. This is definitely a vision by one person, but it's dark. Literally, it's in the dark. So there are huge numbers of scenes where you can't tell what's happening because there's no light. And that's also metaphorically dark. And if you watch this channel, you know that I don't agree with that as an interpretation of DC superheroes. They are sunny, bright superheroes. If you make everybody Batman, then who is Batman? And they're sunny, bright superheroes. They're not riddled with angst. They're not angry. They're not disappointed. They're not dark. And in Zack Snyder's universe, they are. All of them are. And what can I say? I mean, he's got the billions of dollars at his disposal. He's got Hollywood at his disposal. He's got the neck-bearded fanboys from YouTube are a cult of his. They actually made the Snyder Cut happen. But I don't agree with that vision at all. I don't like it at all. It's not DC Comics for me. DC Comics is bright demigods saving people, helping people, inspiring people. And I can't see that for any of these morose murderers in Zack Snyder's version at all. I can't see that for any of them. The Flash is not bright red. Aquaman is not bright gold. Wonder Woman is not bright tricolor. Superman is not bright tricolor. And also, on a meta level, I might also point out that the incredible religious portentousness of the Snyder Cut, 4 hours of operatic music and totally somber people talking about totally important things. On a meta level, it is everything that critics of those neck-bearded fanboys on YouTube say they are and say they want. Their critics say, this is the boring, dripping, unbelievably dunked in testosterone view, this stupid, somber, religious view of superheroes is what you think of when you think of superheroes. When you criticize every new superhero movie that comes out, this is what you want them all to be, and it's mockable. And when I look at it in that lens, I see, okay, it's the ultimate gift to those critics, because this is the version of what, and right online, those neck-bearded fanboys are going nuts over this 4-hour religious experience. So it's a mess. A mess. As far as my favorite DC Universe movie, if we're talking recently, I would probably be Wonder Woman. Although it also was very dark. I at least had some inspiring sequences. Whereas in the Zack Snyder Justice League, I thought there was only one inspiring sequence. The famous Flash sequence. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but if you've seen it, you'll know the sequence that I'm talking about. And it was inspiring at the cost of making any sense at all. So, anyway. Manbro Joho says, greetings from Sweden. Congratulations on your prolific output. People often wonder what you consider to be the best book by authors you dislike, but I wonder what you think the worst book is by Stephen King. That'd probably be Lisi's story. William Faulkner, Absalom, pretty much certainly. And Cormac McCarthy, The Road. The Road would be the worst book by him. Do you like pasta? If so, what was the best pasta dish you ate during your residency in Venice? I had a Bigolian salsa. I never found anyone who can reproduce it, even in the rest of Italy, much less in America. And I don't know if that's the food or just the atmosphere, because I had it many times in a wonderful place where the owner said, no, I don't allow dogs to sit at your feet at your table with you. Are you insane? And ended up by saying, oh, I won't have you in here without your dogs. Please bring them all in. I've got scraps from the kitchen for every one of them. That changed over the course of weeks, and that was wonderful. There's a whole story connected with that one particular place and all the people and the place itself, the physical location on the water. That maybe it had nothing to do with the pasta. I could easily see that. What are your thoughts on the Lioness trilogy by Jack Vance? I really like it. Wish I had a copy. I don't have any of those books. You have praised the Elric series by Michael Moorcock before, but what are your thoughts on his standalone books such as Gloriana? Do you have a favorite? I do, and it's Gloriana. So I like them a lot. I think he's just a talented writer. What is a one-volume or multi-volume history of Rome from its beginning to its end that you would recommend to a person already somewhat familiar with the broad outlines of its history? An author named Ferdinand Addis wrote a one-volume book that I liked a lot. I don't know if it's still in print. I'm not off the top of my head sure how old it is, but I'd recommend that. Also, Mommsen is fantastic. If you can find a complete version, he's really good. Dry, but really good. JC says, number one, how were you allowed to visit Saudi Arabia? As an oil salesman, religious pilgrim, or inveterate leg puller? All it took was a little bribery. This money makes the world go round. It makes the wheels turn. All it took was a little backsheesh. Just a little bribery got me pretty much anything I wanted anywhere. If I was courteous about it. Courteous, well-spoken, then money would pretty much be the way to do it. And probably not true anymore. But as a former bookseller, can you tell us your thoughts on the Mariko Aoki? No, I was wondering if anybody was ever going to ask me about this. The Aoki phenomenon, oh my. Those of you who don't know what the Mariko Aoki phenomenon is are going to be a little dumbfounded by it. But I wonder how many of you might say, oh my, I know that. Put simply, the phenomenon in question here is that when you are spending time, after you have spent time around books, usually this is situated in bookstores, but people have also reported in libraries and also their personal home collection, that when you are spending time walking around with books a little, you suddenly have the urge to go poopies. A real urge to go poopies. And I have experienced it myself. And I don't know what explains it. No idea at all. I have a feeling that it has to do with just the movement of the body. That you're moving around, but you're not actually walking. It has to have some sort of physiological basis. But I've had it happen myself. Where I would be pulling books off shelves here or arranging them or walking around puttering with them, and suddenly I'll feel the need to visit the seat of ease. So I know that it's real. I just don't know what explains it. I wish I knew what explained it. And I'm curious to know if any of you have ever experienced it as well. But anyway, Two Tonics has a million questions. Good Lord. Thanks for the 4,000 videos, St. Donoghue. No wonder that I, as a new Donoghuenaut, can't keep up with all the videos. Usually I try to watch the backlog of YouTubers I'm subscribed to, but that seems to be a desperate endeavor on your channel. Yeah, it's best not to sleep on my channel. I keep going. Excuse me. I was wondering what you have, whether you have ever heard of or read the Judge D series by Robert Van Gulik. They're amazing historical crime novels. If you haven't already, you surely enjoy. Whether or not I have read the Judge D mystery. Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking? Let's just pass over it in silence, shall we? Number one, what are your thoughts about children's and middle grade books and their readability to adults? I've never found them to be all that readable. Children's picture books, sure, because they're working on an elemental level. But middle grade books, I see adult booktubers read them and lovingly, and I don't get that. Maybe I'm not reading the right ones, but they don't appeal to me at all. Number two, do you see or do you believe to see a change having taken place in the quality of children's and middle grade books within the last decades? I don't know them well enough to know. If there's been a change, I would trust other people for my own observations. Looking forward to the 5,000 video celebration in 3 months. I think it'll be a year. It'll be a year. Do about 1,000 videos a year. M3 Industry says, what are your thoughts about Philip Roth? Genius, madman. What is your favorite Roth novel? Least favorite? I don't like him at all. I've given him a chance, many chances over the years. I don't think he's a genius or a madman. I think he's an average writer who has been elevated for Newark reasons to a pantheon where he most certainly does not belong. So I'm hoping that I had to read and review Blake Bailey's big biography of him, the literary event of 2020, the early part of 2020, and I'm hoping that's the last I'll have to deal with Philip Roth for quite some time. In any way, let's see here. Leo Percara says, what do you think of graphic nonfiction? Largely like it. Persepolis by Satrapi, or Arab of the Future is now in multiple parts. I'm not sure I've even read all the parts of it. Those are terrific. Just terrific. They're not strictly my cup of tea. They're not superheroes, but they're really good. And what do you think is the greatest military conquest in history? And a book about it. Well, there have been a lot of books about it. My own personal candidate for the greatest military conquest in history is not a particularly palatable one, and that would be the initial conquests of Nazi Germany, the Wehrmacht's initial year of unbroken successes. That was kind of amazing. When you look at what happened, it's kind of amazing. It's just not palatable because it's the bad guys. Gunnar wants to know, what do you think about this TV series Rome? There were parts of it that I liked. The two soldiers, of course, I loved everything that they were in, including the mind-staggering gore of their combat scenes. There's one particular combat scene where, what's his name? Venice? What's his name? The dumber one of the two has been broken. He's been arrested. He's been put in the arena to fight to the death against gladiators, and he initially refuses to fight. He just wants them to kill him. He's done with everything. And then they mock his old legion. They mock the colors of his old legion, and that brings out the murderous killer in him, and the gore that followed that was like nothing I'd ever seen on TV before. And some of those bits were good, but most of it I didn't like at all. I thought it was just, I don't know what was going on in a lot of it. I just don't know what they were trying to do. Maybe trying to make it Deadwood. But the two soldiers, Venice, I think, is one of them. I'm forgetting the other one, but they were both, the chemistry there and also their storylines I thought were terrific. Let's see here. Vodka Breath says, did you read the #1 Ladies Detective Agency books by Andrew McCall Smith? Did I read the #1 Ladies Detective? Okay. If so, what did you think? Okay, I liked them. I'm not going to answer the first question, but I liked them. I thought they were very pleasant. Isaiah Armstrong says, hello, Steve. Love the book talk. Since you've read everything under the sun, I was wondering if you would recommend some authors that I've been looking into. A rapid fire yes or no is all I ask. Oh, this is... This is just so impossible to do. It's not, you're asking for an Amazon star rating. You're asking for a Yelp thumbs up on something that cannot have them. How on earth can I look, if I can't look at the collected works of a favorite author of mine, James Merrill, Mary McCarthy, if I can't look at their collected works and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, then how am I supposed to do it about anybody? And what good would it do? What worth is it to do? These are not Q&A questions, but let's see who you mention here. L.P. Hartley is great. Mary Oliphant is great. Anna Cavan is great. Elizabeth Bowen is fantastic. Absolutely great. Emile Zola has never worked with me, but that might just be me. Mary Elizabeth Braddon is overrated. R.D. Blackmore is overrated. John Fowles is massively overrated. William Styron is overrated. Gita Maupassant is great, even in English. Vasily Grossman is great, even in English. James Salter is, I like him. I don't like him nearly as much as his fans do. Herman Brock is fantastic, even in English. Thanks again for being such wonderful company and congrats on 4K videos. Well, the pleasure's all mine, but I'm not doing justice to these authors to talk about them in this Yelp way. Not at all. That's why these questions just don't work on a Q&A, because every author that I praised here has written things I don't like, and all the authors that I've said I don't like here have written things I did like. So it doesn't really help much. Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff says 4K videos and heading to 4 million views. Oh my, is that true? Are we getting to 4 million views on this channel? Oh my, that'll be a cause for another Q&A. Rainbow Sky, Gay and Proud. First question, what do you think of The Boy's Own Story as it is right now, the genre and not Edmund's novel? Don't know what that means. I like Boy's Own Story. Second question, why do you think that so many gay men are more interested in learning about other people's history and not their own history? I find that disheartening that so many gay men are more interested in other people's history and not their own history. Most of the offenders I've seen here are young. The young people in the 21st century aren't interested in history at all. They're not interested in anything that goes back any further than their own Instagram account. And also the worst examples of them scorn it. Say, not only do I not know anything about it, but it's not important to know anything about it. Question 3, why do you think that there are so little men, and especially gay men, in children's literature and middle grade? Because I know some gay men would love to write for children and middle graders, but can't because a lot of publishers won't accept them. And if they do accept them, they will extremely censor them by saying that their work has to be clean. I genuinely don't understand that question. I don't know what you're asking. Last question, do you think about the safety and well-being of our people? By our people, I mean gay men, because I do. I think about the safety and well-being, and I was wondering if you do too. Well, again, I don't know what that means. Of course I care about the safety and well-being of everybody, except the Boston Marathon bomber. I don't care about his safety and well-being at all. But everybody else, again, I think the question is asking something that I'm just not getting. Jonas Zanzibar says, this is going to be about what do you think about this particular writer question? Those don't work. Those just don't work. Number 1, what are your thoughts about Alexander Pope? Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. This is a Q&A. I'm trying to get through, 200 questions in something less than one day. I could spend a whole week nonstop talking to you about my thoughts on Alexander Pope, the good and the bad. It's not a nuanced question, but it has a nuanced answer. It can only have a nuanced answer, so I don't know how to answer it. Mark Danilewski, Alfred Tennyson, Thomas Bernard. I can't answer any. What are my thoughts on these people as part of a rapid-fire Q&A? I don't have thoughts on these people that I can accurately read or on any of the other people that have been in this kind of question all throughout this Q&A. I don't have any thoughts on them that I can accurately reduce to a Yelp rating. I just don't. So let's move on. Nathan Fong says, number 1, do you have a favorite video that you are most proud of? Of my own? No, I don't. I make them and then post them. I don't reflect on them at all. So I know of my own, I don't think so, if that's what you're asking. Number 2, which video has received the most views or comments besides Q&A questions? I have no idea. I have no idea at all. I don't look at my metrics on this channel. I'm talking to you. I don't care how this channel is performing. I don't care how individual videos are doing. We're having conversations every day. Do you at the end of a week say, well, I met that friend for coffee. That was one of the week's best conversations. I would rank that really high. Well, I don't do that anyway. I don't know how to look at a lot of the metrics for our YouTube channel, and I wouldn't if I did. So I have no idea. No idea. I imagine, if I had to guess, I would say that the last week in BookTube that caused me to get hashtagged and caused a hate mob probably has more views on this channel than anything else. the comments field has been boiling ever since. I never go back to those comments, but probably, I've had to guess, I would say that has the most views for a negative reason. Number 2, which video has, oh no, number 3, is there a type of video you would like to make but haven't done yet? Perhaps a TikTok? Well, there are plenty of videos I would like to make that I haven't done yet because I can't do them. I would love to put pictures or annotations right in a video, but that requires a video program, even a free one. Even the free ones just distract me from the process. Even the free ones that are easy make it work. And I know that if I make this work, I won't want to do it. I'd love to do those things, but also editing stuff, you know, like editing a vlog or one of those time-lapse things where I'm rearranging shelves. I would love to be able to do that. Those are so much fun to watch. But TikTok? I'm pretty sure that on TikTok you get only a few seconds. Well, it isn't going to work for me. Okay, let's stop there and come on to part 4.